So I am really tired of living in this society, being stuck here, um, having to put up with people's pretense, and of course putting up, I mean like having to go along with it, just so that I can, get along with people, and just so that I can live my life reasonably comfortable. But I have anxiety, and it makes it very difficult for me to interact with others. And so I just try to keep a low profile, but it doesn't really work that well, because when you do that, then people think you are just trying to avoid them. And, you know, we live in a society where people want to feel acknowledged as an individual. Everybody wants to feel acknowledged. Um, and you're supposed to put on this act like you're happy, you know, because nobody wants to start, nobody wants to be around somebody who's, unhappy, because that's just going to make them question their own lives and whether or not maybe they have really actually have a real reason to be happy. But of course, it's all fucking pretense, because a lot of people are actually unhappy. When they get home, um, they think how shit their lives are, and that's when they kind of just forget about everything, and just you know watch TV or eat a whole bunch of junk food and shit. Um, yeah, and then they go to sleep, and then they wake up and they do the whole thing all over again, meaning go to work, act like everything's okay in the world, everything's okay in their own personal lives. Don't talk about serious stuff. We're just gonna do small talk about stupid personal shit, that nobody's even interested in listening to. I'm not. But I have to kind of like, oh yeah, okay, act like I'm stupid and go along with it. Because otherwise, people will fucking hate you, and they'll make your life miserable. So, but the, I've been really depressed the past few weeks, and I've just been thinking a lot, like, okay, so what's the point of me being here when I'm just stuck in this horrible fucking world, and I can't get out of it. I'm just stuck. I, I'm not looking forward to anything really. I'm I'm just languishing. Like, I might as well just be biding my fucking time, because I'm not enjoying this. This isn't a great experience for me. I'm experiencing a lot of bad stuff. It's what's happening. I'm stressed out a lot. I'm consumed by stress, by thoughts that are just horrible, emotions, feelings that are horrible. There's times even when I've never been one to cry, but there's times when I do feel like doing that, because it's like everything's just out of place. Nothing makes sense. My life doesn't make sense. Society doesn't make sense. The fucking world doesn't make sense. It's all senseless. People are just living their lives ignoring all the crisis out there in the animal world, in other places in the world. Millions of kids dying in Africa of fucking diarrhea, malaria, AIDS, tetanus, killing lots of people in Africa. There's so many people who are without jobs because they're incapacitated, There's tons of places that don't have unions, or there's no workers' comp. There's no workers' rights at all. There's places where people are being persecuted even by their own governments, tortured. There's systematic torture in war-torn places, where even kids are being tortured to death. There's places where people of a certain religion are raping children and killing them, burning their houses because they believe in something else. That's what's going on in the fucking world. And everyone just wants to pretend like everything's okay and talk about fucking Kim Kardashian and what the fuck she's gonna name her next child. Are we that... Is society that fucking degenerate? And you can't even raise a fucking peep, because if you say something, people are just gonna, you know, say you're a pessimist, and yeah, they're just gonna completely like go off on you, attack you, and act like you're the crazy one. But that's why I'm making this video, is because what else am I gonna do that makes any sense except try to explain and put forth arguments why life is stupid, and it's just a waste of all of our times. There's tremendous pain, suffering, tremendous, and yeah, it's just like, wow. I'm stupefied. I'm dumbfounded. Every day I'm just dumbfounded by people and their fucking pretense. I mean, the last time I acted like that was when I was in high school. I don't get the 60s and 70-year-olds who are still doing that shit. Are people really that fucking selfish? Yes. They go through their lives just completely ignoring, the things that matter. And just focus, on their own personal circumstances, their own personal interests. That's all they care to pursue. They don't think beyond themselves, But yeah, what's the point of me ending my life? I mean, I've been thinking about that. And Menhem is right. People, people are you're going to come back. You're just not going to die, and you're not going to die and then it's just over. We don't have souls. We don't just die and then our soul is, packed away somewhere or stored in some place in the universe. We're not going to, there's no afterlife. The afterlife is the carbon gets recycled and and um, and bodies form, organs form, nervous systems form, and they synthesize consciousness. And it happens, and people wake up, and yep, and that's what happens. And then they start living, you know. And consciousness doesn't reside in humans only. I mean, it's there's lots of sentient life. I mean, obviously, to be sentient, you have to be conscious. I mean, even fish. People can't relate to fish because they live in water, and most fish don't have lungs, but they're just as conscious as we are. They'll avoid pain at great lengths. They've done tons of studies on fish where um, they've cut some of parts of their bodies, or they've injected vinegar, or stuff that hurts them, and then after some time, they've administered opioids, and and you can see how how they go from a state of agitation to a very relaxed, stress-free state. So yeah, they are very similar to us in that sense. Not really doing anything different in that sense. I've also been thinking a lot about how, yeah, like how human life is just, I mean, I always knew this, that human life is just one, human is, we're just one species. One of many, 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 many species out there. And it's really hit me how life really isn't all this thing, that all this pretense that humans have constructed. You know, I mean, we've only settled, you know, as a species, we've only been doing this thing where we're settled, and we have, you know, farming and animal husbandry and all this other shit. We've only been sort of civilized for a very tiny fraction of of our species, that are very, yeah, that the species have been, our species has been here on Earth. Only about 10,000 years, approximately. And humans have been around for a lot longer. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I've been wanting to make another video, but it really isn't easy to make a video. I feel like I should be writing stuff down and then sort of like making an outline and then just making arguments, and then backing up my arguments with good premises. Because I don't know, whenever I make videos, I just, you know, thoughts, I get these random thoughts and then just blah. But I have been I've been having very intense emotions lately and been feeling really shitty, and I just see that the world is just getting worse. Um, and yeah, there's nothing being said about it. I mean, we have the news, but that's just reporting it's not really reporting the important stuff. And I don't know. The videos on YouTube are just really stupid. They're not even entertaining. People are just making videos about, I don't know, they're just making videos about like, just crap, like which food tastes better, you know, like this one or that one. They're making videos like mukbang videos where people are just eating in front of the camera and rating, like, you know, the food that they're eating. It's just like, wow. Society is so fucked up. It's like we're being tricked and people don't even know about it. Like, for example, like the mukbangs. I'm sure like companies, like, you know, like for certain like food companies or like restaurants are like maybe paying these YouTubers to try their food, you know, and then make you know, like do a review online so that people will go out there and try it. And of course, a lot of YouTubers have, you know, lots of followers, so it's a good like marketing plan or scheme, whatever. And now there's a lot of stuff about like how being overweight is, you know, supposed to be the thing that we're all supposed to accept. And I'm just like, I mean, I'm all for like treating people with respect, but um, yeah, you're not gonna lie to me and tell me that, you know, I can just eat whatever I want, all the junk food that I want, and gain all the weight that I want, and that's gonna make me attractive, and that I'm gonna be healthy, and that we're just supposed to all love each other. I mean, that's fucking retarded, and it's insulting people's intelligence, and it's actually hurting a lot of people too. I mean, people are just gonna be complacent, and they're just gonna continue to buy the wrong foods and just yeah, not exercise, not be active. I hate the word exercise because I think being active really is important. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that I want to say, but yeah, like I just, I was just mentioning that whole thing about the YouTubers because it's just like to me, it's just so easy to see how like we're being manipulated as a society to like accept things that shouldn't be accepted. And it's like common sense, like we know all this stuff is wrong, but it's just they're just trying to, you know, make it look good because people, the companies out there, they just want to make money. They just want you to buy bad food because they want to make fucking money, not because they're trying to make it sexy or they want everybody to just love each other. I mean, that's bullshit. It's all just a scheme to make profits, and they're using people. I mean, they're completely exploiting YouTubers and all the people that are watching them. It makes me so angry, and then you can't even say anything because it's to the point where like if you say something, people are just gonna call you a hater or whatever, like like that you're being offensive and that yeah, you're being rude and all this other stuff, and it's like people will just completely attack you and even call you names and say that you're a piece of shit because you're just pointing out this stuff that just is common sense. Oh my god, it's fucking crazy. But I am stuck in a fucking crazy society where people are obsessed with the wrong stuff and ignoring the stuff that really shouldn't be ignored. Life is really crazy. It's so crazy. I do want to talk a little bit just about animals because I wanted to say something in my last video about animals, but um, yeah, just like the fish. I mean, animal sentient life out there, not just animals. I'm sure insects. I mean, we don't know if they're sentient. We don't have really a reason to think that they're not. I mean, they have a nervous system, you know. Um, but there's just so much life out there. We're just one species, one of many kinds, and and um, and the animals really are living really harsh lives. Um, I keep saying but I'm just thinking, the animals don't have the luxuries that we do. They don't have restaurants where they can go to. They have to spend their time looking for food, and then some animals need a lot of food to they need to consume lots of food to maintain their health and their bodies and their metabolism. And yeah, and we're making it harder with global warming or climate change. We're destroying their habitats, and we're making it much harder for these animals to find food. Um, they also have to be out there in the cold and in the heat, enduring all the nasty weather, and just exposed to the elements. Animals are dying because they're exposed to the elements alone. There's tons of diseases out there, illnesses. And if an animal gets if it breaks its arm or it fractures some other bone, then they don't have a hospital to go to. They die in horrible agony. And in that sense, I guess we as humans we have a lot of luxuries. Um, we do have a ton of luxuries, um, compared to animals, and we just take that for granted too. And society has really distorted views and values about nature. I mean, even anti-natalists, some anti-natalists do, they think that the problem is just humans. No, the problem is life, sentient life in its entirety. I say that because obviously we come from them. I mean, we're all the species today have evolved from previous species, and we're all related to each other, and we all share uh, lots of traits, emotionally. Yeah, we have language, um, but even we do share intellect too. I mean, animals are smart. A lot of animals are smart. They're not as smart as we are, but really none of that matters. The only thing that matters is that, they're capable of suffering. And they suffer tremendously, just like we're capable of doing. But people or society, as a collective, having these views that nature is good and nature is beautiful. No, that's bullshit. As humans, we haven't always had these values. I mean, in the early modern era, like a few centuries ago, and probably throughout, maybe even throughout most of human existence, humans have viewed the wilderness and nature as something to fear, um, and rightfully so. I mean,